Welcome to Backbone Unlimited. I'm Matt Hartsky, and for the past 33 years, I've chased mule deer across every kind of terrain the West has to offer. High country basins, wide open desert flats, juniper breaks, sagebrush draws, and everything in between. And if there's one truth I've learned, it's this. You don't just stumble into a mature mule deer buck. You earn it with glass, grit, and patience. In today's episode, I'm breaking down exactly how to stalk mule deer, whether you're bow hunting during early season velvet or slipping in with a rifle during late October. This isn't theory. These are real tips that have helped me and the people I coach close the distance and fill tags year after year. We're covering how to pick the right buck to stalk, the art of terrain reading and wind management, how to move when it matters most, and mental tools for staying focused and patient when it all gets real. Let's get into it. Stalking starts long before you take your boots off. If you want to be a successful stalker, the first step is learning to pick the right buck for the conditions. Not every deer is killable every day, and trying to force a bad stalk is the fastest way to blow up your area. In my experience, the best bucks to stalk are alone or with maybe one other deer, are bedded in a spot with limited escape routes, have a consistent wind between you and them, and are bedded in cover, not the wide open. Also consider the time of day. Early season, velvet bucks tend to bed around mid-morning and oftentimes don't move much until late afternoon. Wait for them to stand before dark, you're going to be playing roulette. But if they bed early in the shade and tuck into a deadfall or rimrock pocket, you definitely have a chance. I'll sit for 3 to 6 hours sometimes just waiting for the right buck to bed in the right spot. That's the difference between a blown stalk and a punch tag. Nothing matters more than the wind and thermals, period. Thermals will rise with the sun and fall as shade takes over. But wind, that's trickier. You might have a prevailing southwest breeze, but local terrain like a rock chute or a timbered finger can twist it sideways in seconds. If you want a full breakdown on understanding wind and thermals, be sure to check out this full video. I'll link to it here and in the description. Here's my rule. If I can't predict the wind, I don't stalk. Before I commit, I'll drop some grass, or I'll hit my puffer at different elevations. Glassing ridge, halfway up and down, bottom of the draw. If it's swirling or inconsistent, I don't go. It's not worth it. When thermals shift, usually kind of mid to late morning, it's often the best time to move. The deer is bedded, the wind stabilizes, and you've got daylight. If you're unsure, sit it out. You don't get unlimited chances with mature bucks. Great stalks are built on smart terrain reading. You don't want to stalk straight at a buck. You got to think like a predator. I look for the 3 P's: position, path, and protection. Let's talk about position. Where's the deer bedded in relation to terrain features? Is he in the open, tucked behind a rock, under timber? Path. How do I get to him unseen and unheard? What's the quietest, sneakiest, least exposed route, even if it means going a half mile out of my way? Protection. What can I use to block his line of sight? Rolls in the terrain, boulders, brush, shadows. I map all this out before I move an inch. If it's going to be a 2-hour stalk, I plan it like I'm playing chess, one move at a time, always trying to think 2 steps ahead. Every 10 yards or less, I stop, glass, recheck wind, and adjust. Boots off or boots on? This is one of the most common questions I get. Do you take your boots off for a stalk? My answer? It depends. If I'm within 100 yards and the ground is dry pine needles, gravel, or crunchy grass, I'll strip down to my socks or use stocking slippers. But if it's wet, soft, or I've got a longer way to go, I leave boots on and just move super slow. Here's the trick. If you're going to take your boots off, pre-plan wear. Don't yank them off too early and get cold or poke a cactus. And don't wait too long and get busted from noise. Side tip, always mark or be 100% sure where you dropped your boots. I hate to admit this publicly, but I have left my boots in a crevice on a rocky flat top without marking them, and when I tried to come back, it all looked the same, and I spent hours of my evening hunt looking for my boots. At this point, always practice walking slow and soft. Your feet should roll on heel to toe. Pause, listen, move again. Mature muleys pick up rhythm. If you're consistent and slow, you'll slip right in. Also be aware of light. Light and movement can kill your stalk as fast as bad wind. Here's what I do to control light. Always use shadows when possible. I'll wait 15 minutes for a cloud to pass or a tree shadow to stretch just enough to cover me. Avoid ridges or skyline walking at all costs. That silhouette is the biggest giveaway in the backcountry. And slow down your movements, like way down. If you think you're going slow, cut it in half. Most stalks fail in the last 100 yards because of one rushed movement. A buck lifts his head suddenly and your brain says freeze, but your momentum carries your foot forward. That's how it ends. You are moving too fast. Train yourself to move like you're stalking with a full cup of water on your head. What should you carry on the stalk? Once you leave your glassing point or your knob, you're committed. What you take or don't take can make or break the stalk. Here's my stalk kit. Rangefinder, always accessible. Sometimes I even have it out as I get closer. Wind checker, using it constantly. Water, make sure that you've got enough when you're going to be out there for a while. Map on your phone, marked with pins, marked where the deer is, possible routes. Minimal layers, shed that heavy gear before you're closing in. Obviously, not wearing anything noisier that's going to rub. I ditch my pack at least 300 to 600 yards out, depending on terrain, and carry only what I absolutely need. One thing to take note of. One of the worst feelings is sticking an arrow in an animal and realizing your pack is 800 yards or more away across two ravines that were a pain to get across. Prepare smart. If there's any chance it could turn into a long trip, make sure you have more essentials with you, like your kill kit. Now let's discuss bow range execution. Getting within 100 yards is one thing. Pretty easy on mule deer in my opinion. Now getting inside 40 or less with a bow, that's where it gets real. I have killed most of my mule deer at between 2 and 12 yards with a bow or muzzleloader. And closing to that distance is one of my absolute favorite ways to hunt. But at a bare minimum, I want to be within 50 yards of the buck when he's still bedded if possible. Then I wait, and usually wait and wait and wait. I don't shoot a bedded buck unless it's a clean, clear, steep angle with zero obstruction. I'd rather wait 2 hours and let him stand naturally. My only exception to this is I've killed several bucks at 2 or 3 yards and I was just about right on top of them, leaned over and shot. I was just right there. Make sure you use shadows and wind to your advantage. Stay calm. Control your breathing. Your body's going to shake from adrenaline. Train for this moment with visualization and repetition. When that buck stands, range immediately. If you can, range beforehand. If you can range bush or rocks around him so that you already have a really good idea, because sometimes it just happens too fast. When he stands, if he's relaxed and feeding, draw when his head is behind a tree or turned away. Obviously, you don't want to try to draw where they're looking at you. If he's alert, don't risk it. Pick your spot, breathe, execute your shot. And the stalk isn't over when the arrow flies. Mark that exact location he was standing when you shot. Listen to the sound of the hit. That thwack, crack, or dull thud tells you a lot. Watch his reaction. Mule deer often bound hard, but if he hunches and walks, it's an immediate insight to you of how bad he's hurting. If you lose visual, note the direction. terrain features, and any crossings. Wait longer than you think. You know, in the elk woods, when there's a lot of cover, sometimes this is true for mule deer as well. Even on a perfect hit, I'll wait an hour. Minimum, unless you can see him, I would wait 30 to 45 minutes for a mule deer, even if it's more open terrain. If I didn't see him crash, I'm waiting. Track slowly, mark blood, and stay patient. Rushing in can push a wounded buck far and ruin your chances. Mule deer stalking is a mental battle. You will get close and get winded. You'll make perfect stalks and have the buck stand and walk away behind cover. You'll miss a shot you've made 100 times in practice. The key is staying cool. Every stalk teaches you something about mule deer behavior, terrain, and yourself. Here are the biggest mistakes I've made or seen made. Stalking too fast, especially when you're almost there. Getting greedy, trying to move when the shot isn't there. Ignoring the wind, trusting hope instead of the thermals. Poor gear setup, clanking binos, flapping straps, squeaky boots, or leaving your release behind. You've got to slow down and pay attention to the details. Mule deer stalking is one of the purest forms of bow hunting and one of the most frustrating. But if you put in the time, pay attention to detail, and stay mentally sharp, it's also one of the most rewarding things you can do in the mountains. I've learned these lessons the hard way, one busted buck at a time. Hopefully today's breakdown saves you a few blown stalks and gets you closer to punching that tag this fall. If this episode gave you value, please check out Team Backbone and the membership at backboneunlimited.com. You'll get access to exclusive content, my full backcountry prep system, private community support, and one-on-one access for questions like this, plus free gear, apparel, perks, and way more. Until next time, hunt hard, become a ninja mule deer stalker, never settle.